Welcome to Just Beachy with Deb
and Wendy.
Growing up in the 70s in our Toronto Beach neighborhood was a time unlike any other. Bell-bottom pants, high handlebars and banana seats, water buffalo sandals, crazy adventures, and home with the streetlights. We have lots of stories to share.
So sit back and join us as we reminisce about the people and the times that shaped our lives.
Here's a new podcast from Deb and Wendy. We hope that you sit back and enjoy. It's about us growing up in the 70s when we were kind of nerds. It's just Beachy. It's just Beachy. It's Wendy and Deb and just Beachy. Do 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 do.
Who are you calling a nerd?
Marsha. We were
nerdy. There's no question. No question.
Although we thought we were cool, we were
never cool. We thought we were cool until we were with really cool people.
Yeah.
Oh, I see the difference. There's a valley between us here.
But there was nothing like getting a new pair of shoes and thinking you were the coolest person ever.
Oh yeah, or that purple pantsuit I got from Reitman's. You remember that? Oh my God!
I had a purple pantsuit too. Go figure.
No,
and I can remember I had brown suede shoes that Graham bought me, and they had like a fringe that there was a little bit of a heel. They were the first heel pair I ever got with the little heel, and they laced up, but around the laces there was a little fringe, and she bought them for me from a shoe store down on the Danforth. And and I was so proud. I felt so special in those shoes.
You were special. And nerdy.
And nerdy. But
and nerdy.
I can remember my grade 6 teacher, Mrs. Mosley, who was a lovely lady, who was also very short, and she always wore like platform shoes. And I can remember the first time I got a pair almost like hers. Like I thought, oh my God, I have made it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I used to be a shoe horse, but not so much anymore.
I had nerdy shoes. I really did. I would get the canvas shoes and the magic markers.
Yes.
Remember? And I would color my shoes and, be very proud of my artwork. But also I tend to wear desert boots and, just really kind of chill shoes. And I never wore heels. I tried in high school, I did, but I kept falling off of them. It was no good. It was terrible.
I can remember we went through the construction boot phase.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then the Western boots, the cowboy boots.
Yes.
And I loved and we got them all off Kingston Road in various shoe stores or whatever. But construction boots, probably from Snyder's Shoes. But the cowboy boots was another shoe store along Kingston Road, close to Victoria Park. But I loved those things. I wore them all the time.
Yeah. They were very comfortable. The rest of my friends were wearing, platforms and slingbacks and, girl shoes. I liked.
I can remember your running shoes that you colored in though. They were cool. They were
very colorful. They were very rainbow. How Debbie expressed herself before, Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you could make a lot of money doing that now.
I could.
You could, right?
No, I know people do it on Etsy, but they're much more accomplished at it. They use fabric paints and all kinds of things that I would have to learn about. And they do embroidery. It'd be great for wedding couples and stuff.
Well, for what you did at the time, they were awesome.
I know. And then they get dirty and then have to get a new pair. Yeah. I love how hats started back then too. Yeah.
I never got into the hat thing.
Mm-hmm. I had a deerstalker. Remember that one?
Yes, I do. Hats mess my hair, Deb. Come on.
That's true. That's true. I had the double, like the Sherlock Holmes double brim. That's
Yeah, I
a
remember that
deerstalker.
one.
Yeah. And Grampy would buy me hats too. He was always buying me a fedora or something. He fed my hat habit and my guitar habit. Yeah. And he was except for Mom not accepting the fact that I might be gay. We had some really great models. Like Grampy just let us be who we were.
Yep.
You wanted to play the organ, he bought you an organ, and we all listened to you, learned to play it ad nauseum. And we got the tapes to prove it. But, if we had a dream, he'd try to make it come true. And Graham, she was such a big booster of both of us, of the boys too. But she was so proud, and she would boast to people in our presence about how great we were. We got lots of affirmation from them and from Mom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But she knew Mom didn't have the money to buy me the shoes, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's right. That's right.
I'd be spending a weekend with her and Grampy, and it's she knew I would want something, and let's go down to the Danforth, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And she'd
The
buy
Danny.
for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Danny.
The Danny.
It's still so.
I don't know. It's crazy. Nicholas, son Nicholas, was in Toronto recently, and his dad lives near the Danny in Riverdale area. And I said, so do they call it the Danny? Like the people at the co-op or your sister, do they call it? And he just laughed at me. He said, no. I said, you got to tell your father that that's what the name is now and get his reaction. I want it on video.
Yeah. Should actually look it up on Google when it became the Danny, and it's just so stupid.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
that's another.
But I have to say, the at the corner of Main and Kingston Road was the pub called the Ben Le Monde. But they called it the Benny. So maybe it's somebody who used to go to the Benny who is missing the fact that it doesn't exist anymore, who wants to just keep that, the Danny. It's like the Benny. I don't know. It's stupid.
It's
I mean, it's not a big thing, but it's a stupid thing.
Oh, okay. I just looked it up.
Oh, hey, you're fast.
So what it says, the Danforth began being referred to as the Danny in May 2017 when the local business improvement area, BIA, decided to rebrand a section of Danforth Avenue between Donlands and Woodbine subway stations with this nickname. However, not all residents embraced the change, and the original name, Danforth, remains widely used.
Of course.
2017. Oh my gosh.
Where have we been? It's like COVID.
But that's a pretty good stretch, though, right? Like,
well, Donlands to Woodbine is miles. Yeah. If you go the other side of Donlands, you're getting into Greektown. So
right.
Yeah. So I guess it's the unmarked side part of the Danforth that needed rebranding or something. Good Lord. The Linsmore's in there, though.
That'd be like
they don't call it the Linny.
That would be like calling the beach the Beacher.
The Beachy. Hey, that's us.
No, we're just Beachy.
We're just Beachy.
Anyways. Oh, but we were talking the other day amongst ourselves, being Deb and I, and kind of like, what are things that we never told our mother, which we could never tell her now because unfortunately
Wendy has 18 things. I have nothing. I've got nothing. I can't remember anything that I didn't tell her. I'm being honest. I was a good girl. I was.
Well, I think I was talking about Grampy, giving us things, and he talked my mom into a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So one March, when the Sportsman Show was a thing, back, and it still is, I think, right?
Yeah, just a little thing.
Yeah. Two of my friends went down, and they came back, and did I talk about this before, or I'm not sure, but
this was you talked about this on the podcast that we did that died.
Oh, okay.
That was the last one. We didn't air it because more than half of it is just me going, because we lost Wendy's voice.
I couldn't remember if that was the one we lost or if I talked about this before.
No,
Anyways,
no.
Okay. So I go down because my two girlfriends come back and said, yeah, you should come with us because like there's this regiment, Queens York Rangers, and they're recruiting and there's all these guys around. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll go. And so I head on down with them the next day. And I think we went even back the next day because I had no life, I guess, back then. Or boy crazy, one or the other.
Both.
Yeah. So I go down and somehow they talk us into signing up to become a Queens York Ranger, the militia regiment down from Fort York Armories. So I come back with the paperwork and all that. And my mom's like, no, you're not going to do this. And my grandfather's like, well, this could be good for her, Eileen. You should let her do it. So she relented. And yeah, I signed up. And so first summer wasn't a very exciting summer because I wasn't really basic trained yet. So when they called it concentration, which was the end of the summer kind of I can't even think of the word. Boot camp kind of thing that, you went and kind of did like a mock thing. Anyways, because I wasn't trained, I got put on kitchen duty. So I got to peel potatoes and I got the exciting stuff. And, I really learned a lot about the Army that summer. But then the next year, I went on some courses in Petawawa. And unbeknownst to my mother, and she probably knows now if she's listening to us from up above.
That's for a thunderbolt at you.
I was on a TQ1 administration course, which I have talked about before when I drank too many drinks one night and had to do a typing test the next day.
Yes.
But I met a girl from Quebec who was a lovely girl, and we met a couple guys. And no romance or anything like that. Just, we were just butting around. And one of them was from Montreal. And it's like, hey, why don't we go to Montreal? There's a doubleheader expo game at the stadium. Why don't we go? And here I am, probably 16, going,
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
I've only known you guys like for 3 days. Well, sure, let's go to Montreal for the weekend. And so we did. And, there was no cell phones or anything back then. So it wasn't like I called my mom and said, hey, by the way, I'm going to Montreal this weekend. I just went. And, because she thinks I'm in Petawawa on a course. What could I be doing? I'm with the Army of all things. So this one guy that was with us, though, George, I guess he took a fancy to me. And he was an okay guy, but there was, like I said, no romantic thing, anything like that going on. But he was just weird. And apparently he loved me, which I'll tell you the end story of this. But we're staying at his parents' house.
I do have to interject here because I remember writing a song for you once. Remember that song?
No.
Wendy the Man Killer?
Oh, yeah. Wendy the Man Killer! I do. Oh my god. Oh my god. All right. That will be kept for another day. Anyways, so we're staying at George's parents' house in Montreal. And I wake up because I'm exhausted because I've been on this course and everything else. And he's sitting there in a chair, like just staring at me.
Oh my god.
And it's just like, hello. Like, what are you doing?
So you're sleeping and you wake up to this guy watching you sleep.
Yeah. Kind of with his, chin leaning on his hand. It's just like, okay. So anyways, we get back to Petawawa where my TQ1 course is done. So, but now I'm going on a much more rigorous training course to get my TQ1. Oh my God. It's been so many years. I can't remember. Anyways, it's more grunt work, right? It's learning how to be in the Army and not an admin clerk. So I get, and now we're in tents. We're not in a beautiful barrack like I was for the TQ1 admin course. And so life is a little tougher. But one of the guys from my regiment comes up and says, yeah, just so you know, George, I just saw him and he says, if you don't marry him, he's going to kill himself. And here I am like 16 or 17 going, yes, so that's not my problem. I did nothing. Like, this is all him. I don't care. Like, because I was Wendy the Man Killer, apparently.
That's right.
So anyways, he didn't kill himself, by the way.
That's good to know.
Yeah, I know. He's fine. I know, everything worked out. But this course was a lot tougher, obviously. And, but one thing on this course, we all had to teach, we had lesson plans that we had to do. And the one I had to teach was the forward and backward action of the FNC1C2, which was the rifle of the day. And it's just like, that's a hell no. I couldn't do this. I had no idea. Like, take me back to the admin course. That I can handle. So the day I was supposed to do it, I feigned laryngitis.
Oh, dear.
And I got away with it.
Oh.
And so I switched lesson plans with some other guy that was in my... man, I cannot think of any Army terms tonight, but
That's okay. We don't know them anyway.
Yeah, that was in my platoon. Sorry. And so I got a much easier one that I had to do a couple days later when, for some reason, my laryngitis disappeared.
It's amazing. Yay.
And then also being the only female with all these guys, we had to do a recce march, an overnight one. And it was like, that's a hell no. I was so built to be in the Army. So I feigned cramps. And once again, it was all good. And the next morning, when all the guys returned from the recce march that I did not do, they come to my tent and they're like bringing me breakfast, like bacon in a can that they've heated up.
Oh, yuck.
So the moral is, I kind of got a little off track, but yeah, my mom never knew I went to Montreal that weekend. Or all the other crazy things I did, such as all my pretending stuff. But I did well though administratively with my regiment, with the Legion Rangers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was chief clerk one summer, which was I was put in charge of the orderly room. And I did leave short just to becoming a master corporal. So, I did get wise along the way.
There you go.
I got through the the beginning of my career.
And you learned how to manipulate a lot of men.
Yes, I did.
You should have written a book.
Well, I mentioned that one summer that I was the chief clerk for the summer because our regular first sergeant was away. That's when I wrote my short novel called Confidential about all the stuff that went on that summer.
I forgot about that.
And then got called out by the CEO once he discovered that I had written this thing. So yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, those were the days.
Those were the days. I just remember you coming home with food in tubes.
Yeah. The rations.
The rations. Like, what the hell is this?
Peanut butter in a tube. Yeah.
Peanut butter. Yeah.
Chocolate bars that had been sitting around way too long. That Kit Kats that were halfway.
It was the beef stew. The beef stew in a tube that I. It was like this foreign world that you were part of. That, like, you have to eat this. This is what you eat.
Bacon in a can, right?
Yeah.
Bacon in the can.
Yeah.
Oh. And then the other thing I kept from our mother, which came to mind after we lost our original recording last week of this, was being in Oakville with a boyfriend who shall remain nameless. And my mother didn't know I had gone to Oakville. Mm. She thought we were just, somewhere downtown.
I'm over at Joanne's.
And driving back along the QEW. And that's when it was the Mississauga train derailment.
1979, November 10th.
That I could never say that I witnessed because I wasn't supposed to be where I was. Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You didn't even tell me that until recently. Like
that's true.
I did not know about that pre-COVID.
And where are we? This is like how many years later? 45 years later.
Yeah. You were there.
Those are the days.
That was scary.
And I guess what made us come to think of these stories was because we kind of left our last podcast as to if you could go back in a time, where would you want to be in the 70s?
Yeah. What was your favorite time?
Yeah.
Part of the
so,
yeah.
19 76 to 1979. Like, they were great. They were fun years for me because I was in the militia. I did learn a lot. And even my mom, later on admitted that being in the militia was a good thing for me, right? I did grow up a lot, and I wasn't as crazy or getting out of things like I did at the beginning. I did, like I say earlier, I did mature into the role. Oh my God. But those were fun times. And yeah, I don't know if I would do it again if I could go back, but I like those years, growing up, kind of becoming independent, getting the job, earning money, that burned a hole in my pocket.
It was a really good decade in so many ways. Like, it started off kind of crappy with Dad dying, but we found ourselves, and we were surrounded by friends. And I remember when I was in high school, I graduated in 74, but all that time, especially like grade 11 and 12, friends started to learn how to drive, and we would go up to their cottages. We had friends who had cottages in Muskoka and Halliburton, and, we'd go up for the weekend, and just a big, huge group of us would hang out and have experiences of, going to see Chubby Checker at the Ballakey, and, and that really helps you grow up and helps you learn who you are and how you, negotiate the world. When I went to Ryerson, that was fun because I didn't stay in a dormitory. I was coming back and forth, but downtown Toronto was the place to be in the 70s. There was so much stuff happening, so many, being in journalism, chasing the story and learning about how to communicate, and being in the, I don't know if I've told the story about my radio time at Ryerson. We had to take 6 months or something. It was a fairly extended course. I loved radio. And it was down in the deep, dark bowels of Jorgensen Hall, this radio studio and the TV studio. And I would do the news. So we would take turns, all of us, doing the news one night, which was broadcast all around the campus. And I think, too, probably out in the airwaves. But I would leave after doing the news, and there'd be all these guys hanging outside the studio, and they're looking for the blonde who did the news. I must have sounded blonde. I don't know. But I'm like, hi, what are you guys doing here? And we're looking for the one that just read the news. So they fell in love with my voice, apparently. And they thought I was blonde. And I said, oh yeah, Sheila. She's still in there. She's still in there. Just wait. She'll be out soon. And then I hit the elevator and leave and laugh. But yeah, we had some really good times. Just, the gang of us that hung out and taking on the city, learning about how to do photography and write.
Yeah, and I had a good group of friends, but, also with my regiment, one of my best friends, she was in another regiment, and her boyfriend was in another regiment. But we'd go down to, I swear, like at least once a month anyways, there was like a dance at Stoney's, which was the mess in Fort Eric Armories, and we'd go and just have fun and, listen to, Pat Benatar, B-52s, I even went through a B-52 stage where there was this place down at Queen and Broadview that sold like new wave clothes.
Oh.
And I remember we got a couple tops, like with the big shoulder pads.
Oh, I remember
and
that.
the leggings, right? Because that's what the B-52s were, right? And they were just fun, simple times without the weight of the world on your shoulders.
You were dressing like, Rocky Horror Picture. I was dressing like Mary Tyler Moore. I had a suede skirt number remember that one with a sweater, and it had like a sewn-in scarf that went over my shoulder.
Yes.
I was starling. I wore that on air. It's just like, I love that skirt. That was a beautiful skirt.
Man.
The only note I made to feminine. We were trajectories, yeah.
Yeah. But somehow we met in the middle. Because you'd have when you lived at home still, you had friends over, and out came the guitar, and and you were very kind to me. You know, you didn't go, get the hell out of here type of thing. It was just like,
Sometimes I might have, but
well, maybe. It's like, Mom, maybe. But, you know,
no.
I think in my more teenage years,
Yeah.
you know, and,
Well, we
you know,
sang a lot. We sang a lot
yeah,
together for Graham
yeah,
and Grampy, and
yeah. But
yeah,
whenever your friends came over, out came the guitar too, and we'd all be
yep,
singing, and
yeah.
it was just so much fun.
It was. I miss those kind of jam sessions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Got to get back to that somehow.
I'm sure as people are listening, you're thinking about stories that your mom or dad or both never heard about. We have to, when we establish ourselves as individuals out there in the world, you know, I can't think, honestly, God, I can't think of anything.
Well, there are a couple more, but I could never. It was more.
And no, if Amy is listening, Amy listens to this podcast, Wendy's oldest. Now, I want Aunt Debbie speaking here. There's nothing terrible that ever happened. Just take it with a grain of salt.
I think there's a couple stories she knows, but I could never say in person or online.
It's probably better not to.
But I'm sure our younger brother though could hold me to ransom for a couple of them. Anyway.
The 70s were great. The disco times, oh my gosh. Gino Vanelli. And that was the thing about being at Ryerson. I had a press pass to get into places. Yes. And, my camera, and I was like 2 feet away from Gino Vanelli at Maple Leaf Gardens. That was so cool. The pictures didn't turn out because I was shaking so badly. They're a little blurry, but I do have a couple of really good shots.
Didn't you also like when it was known as the O'Keefe Center? Didn't you see the Carpenters and you got some really good shots of them there too?
And Sherry, I don't know if I took pictures. I was way in the nosebleeds, but Sherry Grenier, she was at that concert too. We discovered we were talking about it. Yeah. I don't even know who I went with. Did you go? You didn't go.
No,
I don't know who I went with. Maybe Judy went. I don't know. Who did I go to see the Carpenters with in the 70s? I don't remember, but I do remember being there and just, it's like, on my birthday several years ago, a friend brought me to see Katie Lang. And it was the same kind of excitement of seeing somebody that you've always wanted to see. And it was like a dream come true kind of thing. And it was the 25th anniversary of her Ingenue album. And she was fantastic. I mean, really, Katie Lang's amazing. But we had the opportunity in the 70s to see all these people at the grandstand at the CNE. I saw Chicago. I saw Olivia Newton-John. I saw the Doobie Brothers, I believe, because I remember seeing Michael McDonald at a piano. And all of these, and it was like $7 to go see them or something. Yeah. It was crazy.
Well, I saw the Bay City Rollers at Maple Leaf Gardens. Mm-hmm. I saw the Bay City Rollers at the grandstand. And I think that's all the concerts I ever saw. But hey, that's all I needed to see, man.
But we had like the little clubs too. We had we saw Gino Vanelli at the Horseshoe Tavern. That little tiny place. It's just when he's getting his start. Wow. And Janet, if you're listening, you'll remember that you shook his hand and said, Gino, hello. All these years later, we don't remember. What did you say? You said something like, Gino, nice to meet you, or good job, or something. It was like, it was great. It was great.
I also used to hang out in Yorkville at the recording studio when the Bay City Rollers were in town.
Oh, Yorkville was great. The chimney.
Jenny and I, we would stand along with many other girls that knew where it was. Yeah. And, wait for their limo to go through the gates, and it's like.
I almost met Elton John once. Really? When we were at Ryerson, because one of my classmates knew that when he was in Toronto, and he was here a lot, he was here for a concert or something, but he stayed at the Four Seasons under his real name, and so I called the Four Seasons, and I asked to speak to whatever his name was, and the phone rang. But nobody answered. And so I started to stalk the Four Seasons for a little while just to see if you could see it. I know. I didn't like him that much at that point in time. But I thought, this would be a great story for the entertainment section. I'm looking at the time. We've had.
once you guys hear this podcast, and I know people listen because it's so much fun to see your posts on the Facebook page,
Mhm.
if you can share something that your parents never knew.
Nothing
Since
dangerous, nothing that will get you in trouble or get you arrested,
yeah. But just, it's funny that, I even in my adult married life and having 4 kids, I could still never tell my mother the weekend in Montreal watching a doubleheader baseball game with 3 people I had just met a few days previous.
Well, I'm sure that's not the worst thing that people have done.
No.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening to whatever this was.
Yes, thanks again. And hopefully we'll be back sooner and later. Well, it's already Tuesday because we're a little late with this one, but we'll be back on schedule. We'll get another one out to you this week sometime.
Maybe we'll go live or something. Who knows?
That could be fun.
Yeah. But we sort of sorted out the problem with the bandwidth, I guess. It's all good.
It's all good, is right.
All right.
So have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to you soon. Enjoy.
All right. Take care. Bye. Bye.
Bye.